Hi again, everybody. I just tried to start this video and I'm in the portables and the internet's really lagging. I can even see on this video that it's kind of jittery a little bit. So hopefully we can make it through the video. Welcome to Techy Tuesday, even with a few technical difficulties. What I'm going to cover today is, in case you're just now joining us, is I want to talk about engaging your students inside and outside of class with some web applications I like. We're going to look at the difference between they're going to answer. One of the programs, in my opinion, is better for doing this out of class and in class, and one's better for just in class. We'll see what that is. So deliver questions, students answer, and then as an instructor, you're going to get real-time feedback about this, and that way you can kind of close that feedback loop and discuss the questions that your students missed most frequently. So let's jump in and look at the two programs. We're going to start off with Kahoot. And so both of these, again, are free and they're web applications. So what that means is your students don't need a special app or anything like that to do this. They just need a device that can have an internet browser. And so I usually use Chrome. If they're using an Apple device, Safari would work really well as well. And so I've personally found that the majority of my students do have some kind of device with a web browser, whether it be a laptop, a cell phone, a tablet, something of that nature. So what we have going here, I actually have two screens opened up. One on the left is the instructor side of things, and then over here is going to be the student side of things, so you can kind of see the difference between the two. I'm going to maximize the instructor screen for a second. So we're going to look at Kahoot first. Both Kahoot and Quizizz has the quiz feature. So that's not something that really differentiates between the two. But two things that Kahoot has that Quizizz does not have is the discussion and survey feature. So, with surveys, there's no right or wrong answer with that. And then the discussion feature to me is really neat because students, in my opinion, sometimes kind of get a little scared to do this, to answer discussion questions and kind of debate with each other a little bit without it feeling so confrontational to them, and might minimize how scared they feel. So you can make your own Kahoot. But especially if you're crunched for time, a feature that both of these programs have is the public version of these. So if you're doing a specific topic, so like we're doing ionic and covalent nomenclature right now, I could put in maybe naming and ionic compounds, and it's going to bring up anything that involves those. So you can either play right off the screen, as y'all see here. You don't have to do anything additional. You can just open it up. It tells you how many questions there are. Or if you want, you can actually duplicate it. And so duplicating this is going to allow you, duplicating it's going to allow you to put it into your account, and then you can actually make edits to it later. So I'm going to go to My Kahoots, and this right here, the one that we're going to play in the demo, this is one that I actually duplicated and added a few of my own questions. This is the one we just saw. It had 10 questions. I added 7 additional for my students. So if you're ready to play with your students, you just push the play button, and it'll give you a few instructor options first. So this portion currently does not need to be projected on the projector. The first decision you'll want to make is if you want to play in classic or team mode. So in classic, you can kind of see by the little arms in this picture, each student is going to have their own individual device. So when it opens, they're going to put their name in, and that's it. In team mode, they get to select a team name, and every single player has to put in their name. So this is a really nice feature. If you know not all your students have a device, they can team up and they'll all get credit for playing. if that's something you want to do, or at least you'll have record of who all played that day. And with some topics, in my opinion, students like playing in teams because it kind of lowers them feeling scared of the topic and they kind of work together. There's some other options. You get points in the game, so it kind of has a leaderboard along the way, first, second, third place. And so you earn points, 1, from the time, and 2, from getting the question correct. So on Kahoot, you can add, if you get multiple questions in a row correct, you can get a bonus for that. I'm a little bit competitive, so I like to keep as many competitive options open as I can. You can randomize the order of your questions in class. I actually don't like to do this because afterwards we're going to talk about the ones they missed. So when students refer to things as, Miss Glazer, I didn't understand question 2, if it's randomized, I don't know what question 2 was. So I like to keep the order I had them in. But I do like to randomize the order of the answers. So with this, it's like a typical multiple choice. So you can have 2, 3, or 4 options. So if you have 4, it'll randomize what order the students see those 4 on their screen. The instructions in the pin I found aren't really necessary. I write the pin on the whiteboard, so if someone shows up late, they can get it from there. And then once we play once or twice, they really don't need the instructions any longer. And then with automatically move through the questions, I keep this on. That means that the system's going to keep going. Me as the instructor doesn't have to click through the questions to send it to the students' devices. And the reason that I like this feature is that way I can kind of walk around and help out with any technical difficulties that might be happening, and the quiz will just kind of keep moving forward. And then there's some new features that Kahoot's playing with right now. So let's play in classic mode. And so you want to put this on the screen. You kind of have students showing their devices. So again, on the right hand side, this is the student device. The website is kahoot.it. You can see it right here. So you want to project this screen to your students. It has the website. This is the PIN number they're going to put in. So they're going to come over and put in the PIN, 607696. Students do not need their own account for this, so that means every time they need to put in their own name. And I forewarn my students not to put in anything unprofessional here or I'll kick them out. So I'm going to say, okay, go. And this lets the students know that they have registered. You'll see over here on the faculty one, it's kind of counting down like, okay, we're about ready to play. As the faculty member, I can kick this student out with my mouse if I wanted. They put in an unprofessional name, but I didn't. So get ready. What comes up on the screen is the question first. So this is the projector. This is the student device. So you have to have a projector to play Kahoot. You'll notice if you want, there's a timer. You can set the time for various lengths. And then these are your answer options. So the only thing you get on the student device is colors and symbols that go with the answer options. All right, so I got that one wrong. Great. And then on the instructor screen, you're going to get feedback at the end of each question of who got it right, who got it wrong. And on the student screen, it tells you what place they're in to try to keep them motivated. So again, on the projector, it's projecting the question. The question's still here. Now we have our options of the 2 answers there and the timer. So again, on the student device, I like to think of Kahoot as a more traditional clicker system. Great, I got that one wrong as well. This is what I get for not reading the questions. So, with traditional clickers, this is how it was. You had a projector with the questions on it, and then the students used their clickers as the A, B, C, or D options. So you can see on this one has a little bit of longer time. Here's the question up here at the top. We're going to name it. And here are 4 naming options down at the bottom. So on the student screen, all we see are the colors and the symbols that go with the names from the projector screen. All right, I need to start reading some of these. Again, the instructor is also going to be getting who's got it right, who got it wrong, and the student's going to get what place they're in to try to keep them motivated. So if I have multiple student screens up right now, you would be able to tell that this is very class-paced. So it waits until the timer goes all the way down before it sends the question to all the students, or it waits for all the students to submit their answer. So since I only have one student in right now, when I submit, it ends the game and moves on to the next question. So there's kind of that two things. It's as a class with Kahoot, unless they all submit. So whenever I've done Kahoot, I've noticed it takes a little bit longer than Quizizz, and you'll see why that is when I open up Quizizz. So hopefully y'all are kind of getting a feel for this. There's 17 questions for this one, so I don't want to get through all of them. But projector screen, student screen with the symbols. No questions or anything like that. So with Quizizz, I'm going to open up what the Quizizz side of things looks like and expand it for a second. When you first log into your Quizizz account, and it is Quizizz, again, we have that public feature. That's what it usually opens up to first. So just like Kahoot, you can type in the public ones. Now, in my opinion, Kahoot has better public features or better public games that have been posted. So if I'm feeling a little lazy, I usually use Kahoot. But you can do the same thing here. I actually like how Quizizz kind of has this preview feature before I click on anything. It tells you how many times it was played as well right on the main screen. So that kind of lets you know its popularity as well. So just like with Kahoot, if I want to, I can duplicate this into my own account and add on to it. So that's a similar feature in both. So I'm going to go to my Quizizz. And again, I really like this kind of preview feature in case I forgot which one I wanted to use in class that day. That's kind of nice. So one of the biggest different features of Quizizz versus Kahoot, in my opinion, is this right here. We can play live, which we're going to do right now so you can see what it looks like. That's just like Kahoot. Besides, you're going to see how it gives the questions to the students is a little bit different. And then there's a clear homework option. The homework option allows me to post it. I'll open it. It lets me put a date from when students should complete it. The same kind of question settings similar to Kahoot, but it gives me a code to give to students. So down here at the bottom, I know it's little, y'all probably can't read it. It has instructions ready to go. I copy the instructions with the code into my D2L homepage. It's ready to rock and roll. My students told me for this last exam that they really enjoyed practicing using Quizizz versus the paper practice I had up. They thought it was fun. And by assigning it as homework, I get a report back of how students did. So let's go back to my main Quizizz so we can play live so you can kind of see what the difference is. So again, the question options are very similar here. Jumboing questions, I don't like to do that. I do like to jumble the answers. I don't like to show the answers live because I found students don't really use this feature and it slows the game down. Kahoot didn't show the answers. Kahoot does not let you see all the questions at the end either. So this is something I really like, where it'll bring up the entire quiz for students to see at the end. That way they kind of have references to ask me questions on when we're closing that feedback loop once we're done playing. There is a leaderboard, and students really like that. There's actually two ways they can see the leaderboard. They can see it at the very end, but with the question timer, you can actually see when different icons have answered, so it helps motivate you to answer faster. So I like to keep the question timer on, keep it a little competitive. This Quizizz does have a cute little meme feature. If I want to play faster, I turn it off because, you know, you have to wait for it to send. But students have told me they actually really like the memes, that they think they're funny. So I keep it on and I turn the music off. So we're ready to play, push proceed. And the thing that I love about Quizizz is you do not have to project anything. So just like before, I'm going to pull up a student account for this, which it looks very similar to Kahoot. Go to quizizz.com, we're going to put in our 6-digit code. So all I do with Quizizz is I put the code in on the whiteboard. I do not project this, and you're going to see why in 1 second. So I'm going to put in my 6-digit code so we can play the game. 561504. Proceed. Again, since students don't have to have an account, they can put in their name. Quizizz actually has a feature where if they put in anything inappropriate, they will block their name and block them from the game. So I personally like that in case they're trying to be funny. So then we can put in join game. They do this little cutesy thing with the avatar. I don't really care for that feature, but it's something they do. And then over on the instructor screen, they call them their troops. That's how many students have signed up. So now we're ready to play. Just like before, you can tell I can also kick them out if I think they've named themselves something inappropriate too. So we're going to start the game. Before we get started, or while the game's getting ready to go, the biggest difference is you can play Quizizz without a projector. And I love that. So when the questions get sent, it's going to go to the student's device individually. They're not playing as a class. They're playing kind of by themselves. So you'll notice my screen looks nothing like the student's screen. And so they click it, and again, they get points based off of 2 things: how fast they answer it and if it's right. So the students are really playing against themselves. You can see on their timer, you can see their little icon. So the icons, if I had a whole class of students right now, if a student answered it right now, that I can see when students answer it. So it motivates me to answer quicker. So as students are answering, the biggest thing, and those are the little pictures students said they like, the biggest difference that I like is what my instructor screen looks like. The students are playing independently, they're self-paced. This kind of gives me a little bit of feedback on which students are getting it and which ones aren't. But if we look over to the instructor screen for a moment, you can see that I can tell if I had multiple students, they would all be listed here, and I can tell how well each of them are doing. So I actually verbally tend to give them cues based off of that. I say, oh, wow, Rachel has got one right and got one wrong. Or, oh, look, Tommy's got all of them correct so far. You know the game and all the students have finished when we get to the very end here. So we know that the game's done when every student has all colored bars. And so as students are moving through the questions on the instructor screen, I can see how many people have got it right, wrong, or if it's grayed out, that means they missed it due to time. They ran out of time with that. So I feel like as an instructor, I'm getting a lot more feedback from the Quizizz. And this is going to help guide my discussion afterwards. So again, on the student side, they're still ranked throughout the game, and that helps keep them motivated, makes it a little competitive. But on the student screen, they can read their own screen, read the question, answer what they think it is. If they get it right, it's based off of time and correctness, and they get the cute little memes. And it always reminds them of what their rank is to try to encourage them to do better. So hopefully you guys have a little bit of a feel for the difference between Kahoot and Quizizz. So number 1 difference, Kahoot has to have a projector. Number 2, the only thing students see on their screen with Kahoot is the colored blocks to select the correct answer. For me, that kind of bothers me. I wish the answer words were at least on there, but they're not. It's just the colored blocks. So that's the 2 biggest gameplay differences. With Quizizz, the students get to play independently, but there's a leaderboard, so you still get that little competitive nature. Also, as an instructor, I feel like I'm getting more feedback because instead of projecting my device, I can use my device to see what students are getting right or wrong. So I've really started to switch over to Quizizz. I used to use Kahoot a lot more, but now I've really switched over to Quizizz. Also, Quizizz has that homework feature. So there's 2 ways I think it would be neat to use this. The first one is if you teach an online class, or just if you want to give your students extra practice. If you assign it as homework, again, you can review the report later. You're going to get that feedback from your students just like I was in real time. And by the way, both of them in real time, you can download the report if you want for both Kahoot and Quizizz. But the homework feature on Quizizz is way better than Kahoot because you get those reports back. Two, and this is something I've been thinking about playing around with now that everybody has Skype for Business, is the idea of online office hours. I played with this a few years ago and it wasn't successful. Very few students were logging on. Most students that were logging on were ones that would have came to see me face to face anyway, but it was a little more convenient for them to just log on and talk to me. So the idea I had with online office hours, and I think this would work with like a face-to-face class and an online class, is that I want to play Quizizz live, but distant. We don't have to be face-to-face because with Quizizz, you don't need a projector. And so I would send out the code and say, okay, guys, we're going to have online office hours at 2. Play the Quizizz before or join us at 2:15 so we can play from 2 to 2:15 if you haven't played yet. And then at 2:15, we're going to do a question and answer session based off the Quizizz. I haven't tried this yet, but I would like to think that since we're going to have kind of active gameplay, it'll give us an area for us to definitely discuss. I could go through the report with the students and talk about the ones they got right versus the ones they got wrong. And I think more students would attend because I think sometimes they don't come because they don't know what to ask. But if we're doing an activity live or prior to attending online office hours, that's going to give them something to really focus on and work on with me as a class. And again, now that everybody has Skype for Business, I think this might be a real possibility of something we could do. So hopefully you like to see the difference between Quizizz and Kahoot. If you use either of these, let me know in the comments below. And if you have any other ways that you might use Quizizz or Kahoot in or outside the class, let me know. Thank you guys for joining in. I'll see you next week.